Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Dash Rinko Leavers.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Yeah, we missed last week, but what are you going to do about it? Wrong and wronger. I am the guy that's always willing to be here, Steve Olivas, Dr. Steve, and he is James, the exploding unicorn. And James, how are you doing today?
Actually, I have a relationship question I'd like to kick this off with. What would you say there was a relationship between two people, and one of them was always initiating the calls and the texts, and if they didn't go out of their way to set something up, nothing would happen. Is that a healthy relationship?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I mean, we're just in the hypothetical here.
Of course.
Like, this has nothing to do with you or me or anything else. That because couples, and I suspect we're talking about a married couple here, or definitely one that's long overdue for a divorce. But the point is that couples kind of get into a rhythm that one kind of assumes responsibilities in one area and the other assumes responsibilities in the other area. And so they sort of rely on each other to fulfill that role time and time again. Like my wife cooks, for example. I don't cook. And there's reasons for that go well beyond the fact that I don't have time, food poisoning, death, and other kinds of gastrointestinal maladies notwithstanding. But between Breakwell and Olivas, for example, and I know we're not talking about us, but here's something that you weren't talking about. Like, you are the one that always initiates the text messages. I don't know if you even had this in mind when you brought up that hypothetical, James.
It didn't even cross my mind.
No, but I think it's relevant here to at least bring in, because you're very comfortable with that. You would never complain about that. You sort of know and understand it is the cross you bear, being the organized and the fastidious unicorn that you are. And I've come to rely on that. And so I don't think it's maladaptive at all, James. I think it's actually the opposite. It's quite functional in a couple.
So what goes through your head when at the end of the day on a Tuesday you haven't heard from me?
Well, I hope you are not one who gets his feelings hurt very easily, James. Well, actually, that would imply you have feelings in the first place. But I don't even notice. There does come a point later in the week where I think, did we record Wrong and Wronger this week? Breakwell's probably on vacation again, because he always is on freaking vacation. I'm here plowing the fields, man. I just keep saying, hook that harness up to me, and I'll just keep working. And you, in a word, gallivant.
Gallivant. I do enjoy that word. I think we've had an entire episode about that word before.
Did we really?
I don't know. Maybe it was something else. Either way, I do enjoy the word much more than I enjoy you and your presence here. But that notwithstanding, you did, I believe, break some land speed records to make it back for this very specific time slot that we both had open. How fast did you drive to get here?
I did not break the speed limit any more than my usual breaking the speed limit. I kind of know. It's interesting. I travel a long stretch of interstate, and the cops are in exactly the same place whenever they're out. So I don't know if that's to discourage people or if it's just to pick off tourists, but most of the locals kind of know when to bring it back down to 70 and then when to crank it back up to 80 or above, the way most people drive. I'm usually, and I don't know about you, James, this is an interesting topic, I'm usually 5 to 7 over. So if I set the cruise control at 76, I'm happy. What about you?
I am always 9 over because depending on where you are, I think most of the time cops nail you at 10 over. I was a night cops reporter for a while, and I was with them, and they said it was true. I mean, it's not always true. Like sometimes they do a saturation patrol, and they're just they're basically stereotyping, and they're looking for anybody young who might have drugs. The old people are, especially the ones in the minivans, they're too uncool to have drugs. They go after the young people, things like that. Or like if you go through,
drugs come in an orange bottle. But
if you go through Ohio, the only reason anyone goes into Ohio is to get through Ohio. It's just a big intersection. So Ohio gets all of its money from speeding tickets. So if you have an out-of-state plate in Ohio, Ohio and you're going half a mile an hour over, they will pull you over. I mean, that's just how it is. But in states where people have a reason to be, where it's actually nice to live, I will always go 9 over.
Yeah. Yeah, having an out-of-state plate is considered speeding by many municipalities in Ohio. The other reason to go into Ohio, obviously, is to buy drugs. So in that sense, the cops are spot on with that kind of assessment.
Do you have a guy in Ohio?
I could probably dig one up if I had to.
Well, that's good to know. You are resourceful.
I know. I got friends in low places, as Garth Brooks once sang, James. But for example, you.
Well, that's true, but I am very highbrow. I have heard it said that I gallivant about. I am a classy fellow.
With your ascot and your corncob pipe, yes, of course.
And my button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal.
No, your heart and your soul is made out of coal.
That's an upgrade. I have a soul now. You've promoted me.
Yeah. It's 1 lump or 2, and it's black and powdery. But why have we gathered here today, James? Why did I rush and break all land speed records to accommodate your schedule so that we could put a Wrong and Wronger together, despite the fact that you opened with unreasonable complaints and gripes and things that make your world go round? What is on... Go ahead, please.
I love your assumption that there was some pressing topic here, like we've ever had one. But there is something I'll go ahead and discuss as long as you're here. I don't know if did you read my newsletter about being out in the woods?
Oh, no, I didn't. I haven't seen the last couple.
So I of course, I knew you had not because you are, uninterested in my life and also barely literate. But this particular one would have been relevant to you because something happened that I had never in my life seen before. I've been going through these woods for literally 25 years. And I think I've maybe ever seen one snake from a distance, and that was it. But we were out walking through the woods, and my buddy stepped in a snake, and it bit him. It pierced the skin and slithered away. It was probably 1.5 feet long. And I thought about you and your jumping rattlesnakes. I think the snakes are getting feisty. It's their world, and they're trying to take it back.
Well, what kind of snake was it?
That is a valid question. I assumed garter snake eventually because that's just in Indiana and Iowa and Illinois. You just call all snakes garter snakes. But my kids who watch this YouTube channel all about reptiles said that garter snakes have yellow on them. And this one did not have yellow. So it was like dull gray all the way around with no pattern on it. Like I thought, my second guess for snakes is always black rat snakes, but this was not black, it was gray. Those are apparently 2 different colors. Huh. So I sent him a list of like every snake in Illinois. And he thought maybe it was a something racer. I don't remember. It's something non-poisonous. I would like to believe it was poisonous, and we're just so tough, and we had so much alcohol in our systems that it would kill any venom that came his way. But those little snake's fangs, they were sharp enough. One pierced the skin, and one just kind of glanced off and left a scrape. How big were your rattlesnakes?
Oh, James, no, they're big. First of all, let me finish off the racer anecdote. The black rat snakes are sometimes called black racers, and they're not always uniformly black. Like they can have some green tinge or some gray tinge to them. So it may have been a racer, and the reason they have that name is because they don't tend to fight. They tend to flee, and they can flee pretty fast. And I've seen it happen. So that could be, and it probably is if he's still alive and isn't walking with a limp, what bit him. But that's usually what gets people bit, is they inadvertently step on one of these things and startle it. Most snakes, and this is what made ours so terrifying, most snakes would rather just go the other way and live to fight another day. The ones that I'm talking about, they were aggressive, but they were probably, there was a big one and a little one when I finally came back armed properly. It was, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm not a big dude, but it was about as big around as my forearm and probably between 6 and 8 feet long.
Wow.
And it was massive. We've come face to face with 4 timber rattlers now. Actually 5 if you count the one that Mrs. Steve. And all you resource officers, this was an accident. She ran over one with the lawnmower and didn't realize it until well after the fact. So that one I don't consider a face-to-face. But the 4 face-to-face incidents we've had, the snakes have all been somewhere between 4 and this one it could have been 8 feet. It was an enormous rattler. And timber rattlers in particular don't look like the Western diamondback rattlers that you see on TV that are kind of uniform in width. Like they're cylindrical. All snakes obviously are cylindrical, but the timber rattlers have a weird thing where they kind of bow up in the middle and then they taper toward both ends. So they're not completely symmetrical. It's a very strange body style that they have. I don't know why that's adaptive, or I guess they don't have to be fast when they're fierce. Most animals probably steer clear, but that also makes their midsection, like, it's notably big on a timber rattler.
So you apologize to DNR, like accidentally killing that snake was a bad thing, but are they protected, or are they like coyotes where it's legal to shoot them all the time for any reason?
Well, there are 2. Can you name the other animal that has no bag limit and no season?
I was going to say rabbits, but I think rabbits have some limits. I don't know. Groundhogs, maybe?
Oh, God, you're close. That's not it, but it's armadillos.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, armadillos and coyotes you can shoot at your leisure whenever you want, as many as you want. So anyway, the timber rattlers, I don't think they're protected per se, but I do know, at least in my state, I don't know if this is a law or if this is just, come on, people, but if you have a reasonable route of escape, you are to take it and not kill the snake. So I don't think it's like killing a bald eagle if you run over a timber rattler by accident. But I do know you can't hunt them. Like, you can't aggressively go at it out in the wild. You're supposed to steer clear and just kind of let it go on its path.
You know, bald eagles now are ridiculously common. There's like 500,000 of them. They are perhaps too protected. They are everywhere. They are big and they are scary, and they will eat your small dog.
We've had one here on the ranch that we've seen, and there was one that we saw in town. Could have been the same one. Town is about 9 miles from us, so I don't know how many bald eagles there are, but I do know there are some here.
I saw, the most I ever saw was in Iowa. We were driving back through, and it's where they were throwing like dead pig carcasses into the field, as one does in Iowa. But we were driving, I mean, at that time of year, like there were eagles everywhere. We were driving, and in one tree, we saw 5 or 6 eagles. Just like a whole flock of eagles sitting there waiting. Like they could have.
Wow.
They could have escorted a whole group of hobbits. I mean, it was a lot of eagles.
We have buzzards and turkeys like that, just like tens and dozens of these things around here. And birds, I don't care if there's bird lovers out there, heck with you. Birds are stupid. And more importantly, birds are evil.
Yes.
When you mix stupid plus evil, like that's a bad combination. And they can fly. Like, good Lord. God was obviously a little bit tipsy when he invented aviary animals.
On my memoir, I have an entire chapter about how much I hate birds. Like, and you think about all the things in my life that I hate, and the fact that this chapter on birds made the cut over all those other things I hate really says something. I should
really have
hate
a
birds.
whole section, but yeah.
You should, but then nobody would even know who I was hating. That was the thing. You got to get more famous, and then I can hate you, and it'll mean something.
I'm working on it.
Just sometimes the links I put out there, they're like insults to you, and people are like, "Why are you insulting this random old man? Like, what are you doing?"
Leave him alone. The Turkey Gang, and we call it the Turkino Crime Syndicate.
Oh.
They'll drive the deers away from the feeder. Like the turkeys rule out here, and the deers outweigh them by over 100 pounds. I don't know why the deers don't just start doing a little smackdown, but apparently turkeys are kind of legendary, and they have all the blackbirds on their side. We have blackbirds the size of basketballs out here, and when those tag team, like the deers just back off and go, "You eat whatever you want, and we'll just pick up the rest." It's a weird, wild nature ride out here at the ranch.
There's an author I follow on Twitter, and he recently posted about how a turkey attacked his moving vehicle. He was driving through the woods, and it came out, and it attacked his car, and was like, I was trying to get on the hood, and was flapping and pecking at it. and it went to the side to attack the door, and he drove past, and it went and attacked the next door. And then he posted an updated tweet, and he's like, apparently it's this specific turkey because somebody messaged me and they knew that turkey because they described where it happened. So this turkey has a territory where he's guarding a section of road like some kind of troll, and somehow nobody's run him over yet. Like, I feel like we are rewarding stupid creatures. If we just let nature take its course, if we just let natural selection in the form of a moving vehicle go, we would have smarter animals because the dead ones or the dumb ones would all be flat.
We had a turkey out here that we called Hopper, and Hopper had one leg. And so turkeys don't like to fly for some reason. They're too evil to fly. So they will walk from place to place. Hopper had to hop on one leg. And Hopper was around for months, and we're like, we got coyotes up the yin-yang here. Why doesn't something just eat that damn thing? And it's probably because turkeys are so evil, the coyotes are like, yeah, we're good. We'll just, we'll find a deer somewhere out here. But Hopper finally disappeared. Like, we haven't seen Hopper in a long time. And we know most of our regulars by name, the deers and the turkeys that we know. And poor Hopper is probably inside of something's stomach at this point.
Do you really expect me to believe that you can tell the difference between turkeys?
Yes.
And deer?
Yes.
If I were
deer more than turkeys, okay. Absolutely.
If I were to give you a test, I was hold up pictures of these things, you would pick them out. You would tell them apart. What are
some of them, absolutely, but it's not just what they look like. They have different mannerisms and personalities.
Oh, that one.
And I tell you what, man, we spend a lot of time sitting out here watching this stuff, This
is what happens when you blow all your money and you don't have internet and Netflix. You're out here watching turkeys be jerks to deer.
It's fascinating. Just the wild kingdom and how, like, the pecking order. This is Lord of the Flies every day, James. And deers have kind of come and gone. We have a trio trained right now where when Mrs. Steve or I put a bucket of food out, we'll honk the horn on the four-wheeler a few times. And almost without fail, by the time we get back to the garage, what we call the twins, it's two fawns, which are pretty big now. They were spring fawns. Two fawns and their mother are out of the woods and up at the feeder eating. They know that horn honk. We've got them trained like Skinner's pigeons.
Now, your goal is to hunt at some point, right?
Yeah, I can't shoot the twins. I don't know what they're going to look like as adults, but I hope they have some kind of unique marking so that I don't accidentally... I'll be sad if another hunter picks one of them off. But we've watched them. They were like this big when they started coming to the feeder, and they wouldn't feed on corn. They would nurse off their mother while mom ate the corn off the ground.
I don't know how the laws are in Tennessee, but in Indiana, you can't bait animals. So I was thinking if you've been feeding them there, I don't know if you can hunt them there. You have to go on somebody else's property.
There are... I don't know how much you care about all my... I've studied a lot on this just because I don't have internet, I don't have television. If you do have a feeder, there are two provisions. Either you have to hunt 250 yards minimum away from the feeder, which is possible. I have it mapped out where 250 yards is. Or you turn your feeder off 10 days before the hunt, which I can also do. So you can feed throughout the non-hunting season, and you can still feed if you're at least 250 yards away.
Is your property 250 feet long or 250 yards long? I'm sorry.
I've told you how big my property is, and A, you didn't believe me. B, then you went on the internet and said, oh, I guess it is that big. And so, yes.
I don't believe any of those things ever happened. Is it?
You did. You Googled it right here while we were taping a show.
But that would mean you would have had to have... Did I Google the dimensions, or I Googled your specific... I Googled the dimensions.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you know how many acres I have, and I told you roughly what I told you is we're about a mile long and between a quarter and a third of a mile wide, depending on where you measure. And you're like, that's baloney. Nobody has that much. And then you looked it up and said, well, a square mile is this much, and you have roughly a quarter of that. So yeah, that does seem to track.
I mean, I believe all of your story except for the part where you said I said you were right. Like, those words would never leave my mouth, so there's no way this is true.
I believe you said, I look up to your intelligence because it dwarfs mine. I believe that was a quote.
Exact quote. Yeah, okay. Now we're back in the realm of possibility, huh?
So yeah, I got a mile of property here, and there's plenty of room to go 250 yards away and still get off a good shot. But the turkey problem is that we have all of these Turkino Crime Syndicate members, and the bag limit in the fall hunt is 1. The spring hunt, you get to take a little more, but in fall, they don't let you thin the herd very much.
You're going to kill one turkey, though, and I mean, I guess I don't know. I was going to say they're never going to come back, but maybe they are that stupid. I don't know. I don't know which way that one's going to go.
Well, I'm guessing they go where the food is, and they know where the food is.
Yeah, man, you know what? The downside is turkey's not very good. It is a lesser meat, and I imagine wild turkey more so. I've never had wild turkey. I've had duck, but Thanksgiving turkey doesn't do anything for me. It's pretty disappointing. The superior holiday meal is ham. Always will be.
The funny thing is, and you know me, man, I'll eat anything. I will eat ham, but I don't care for ham. Probably the same as turkey. You'll eat turkey at Thanksgiving, but it doesn't float your boat very well.
Yeah.
Wild turkey is a little gamier than stuff that you eat that's raised specifically to kill and eat on Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. But it's still good. I actually prefer wild turkey to deer. I'm not a huge fan of venison, but I'll eat it. I mean, we'll have plenty of protein in the fridge this fall.
You're assuming you're going to be able to successfully hit anything with that bow. I would.
every time. So I have a specific hunting rifle for deer, and the ammo for it is really expensive, and it's hard to find. And every time I do, I'll find a box of 20, and I'll buy it, and I'll be like, this is 20 deer that are going in our freezer, man. So if a deer gets you about 60 pounds of meat, this is like 1,200 pounds of deer meat in this box of bullets. Yeah.
So I'm assuming you don't have enough bullets to actually practice. When's the last time you actually fired this thing?
I have. James, man, are you kidding? I'm going to, just before deer season, I do want to at least get the gun out, make sure it's oiled up and clean and that I don't kill myself with it. But it's the only gun I haven't shot yet because the doggone ammo is so pricey. And I'll tell you what, it's a 30-06. Like, It's not some weird Russian, Chinese-made. It's just a hunting rifle. But 30-aught bullets are very hard to come by these days, and they're about $2.50 a piece.
$2.50 each?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you were just being cheap, but
No.
You go and you fire 10 shots at a target. That's $25. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're gonna be furious if you fire that thing and miss a deer. You're gonna go broke.
I'm gonna go get it back. Screw that. Yeah.
$2.50 a bullet. That's nuts. What did the other bullets cost by comparison?
Oh hell, you can get. Well, I mean, these are not really hunting bullets, but like 22. If you got a little 22, you can get 100 of those for $11. Like, they're real cheap. 9mm bullets are probably 35 or 40 cents each, and I have a 223 rifle, and those are probably around the same as a 9mm. It's the problem with a lot of these guns is just being able to find the ammo. And at least out here, there's some places that don't run dry. Like in some bigger cities, you might have trouble finding them. But as you get into like some of the bigger rounds, and the hunting rifles take bigger rounds, like you don't want to hurt a deer, you want to kill it, and that just gets the price jacked up quite a bit.
Have you seen the American classic movie Tremors?
I have. And I agree, it's a classic. I love that movie.
It is as close to a perfect movie as you're gonna come. I really enjoy
with the
that
elephant
movie.
gun.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with that. Are you have you looked into that? How big are your deer?
No, our deer are smaller than yours, actually. And I read a thing on why that is, that our bucks don't have the same size racks that yours do, because out by you, they can free feed soy, they can free feed corn, because you have fields planted. of all the stuff that deers can feed on. Out here, they just have leaves, so they don't grow as big. Like their bodies don't have as much nourishment, and the bucks don't have the same size racks, which is disappointing. So we don't need the elephant gun or those giant cartridges that thing shot. But I do know a guy that can probably get me one if ever James Breakwell wants to get his hands on one.
It would amuse me, but it's probably $15 a shot, and that's way outside my price range.
I don't doubt it. If you can find the damn things, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, listen, I could talk this stuff with you all day and all night, James, but I got to go track some turkeys, start mapping out where they're going to be, because bow season. And I don't know if you saw the video of me accidentally shooting an arrow over the small cabin because it released when I didn't expect it to.
God.
It was... Yeah, it wasn't one of my... It was the very first shot I ever shot with my new compound bow. I had it drawn back, and I didn't realize the triggers on those things are so sensitive. And so I was just taking it back to check how much arrow was leaning over the bow, and the thing fired on me. And it went thunk, and it scared the heck out of me, and the arrow probably landed near your house. Like, those things have some power. But the point is, I'm not great with the bow, but I'll sit out couple weeks from now and at least try to shoot a turkey with one. And you think bullets are expensive, arrows are even more expensive. So I'm not going to give it too many shots before I give up.
Yeah, but they're multi-use unless you're terrible and hit a tree or something.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. I only shot for about a half an hour, and I'm 2 arrows down, and I mowed back there. And I can't find the arrows even after I mowed. Like, I only have a 60-pound draw on my bow, and those things, man, those fly so much further than just the recurve bow. I don't know where exactly those 2 ended up, but I'm fairly certain it's not in this zip code.
It sounds to me like your turkeys are going to be perfectly safe.
Well, that's until shotgun season starts. And then one of them will be our Thanksgiving turkey. That is my goal this year, to eat a turkey that I hunted, and it's like a zero cost to us other than that shotgun shell, which are also pretty cheap.
All right, well, I have distracted you. Apparently, I found your topic where you will go on forever. Please get us out of here.
Well, that is... I'm not sure what I'm trying to say now. I have visions of turkey plums dancing in my head. That is another episode of Wrong and Wronger that you probably wish you wouldn't have tuned into again. Not like last week where you were delighted, just like I was, that Breakwell didn't text you. But until we meet again, until James decides to get off his high horse and do his duty in our relationship, this is Steve Williams, Dr. Steve, for James, the exploding and resentful unicorn, saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and remember, as always, 2 wrongs can make a right.